When I step out of the shop, this is what I see. Katniss Everdeen is a-looking at me. I got a loaf in my hand and I ain't afraid to throw it, I'm Peter and I know. Talk about the Hunger Games. I apologize for that. I really am. Don't leave. Please don't leave. Please. Well, what can I say about the Hunger Games movie? It did obviously very, very well at the box office. It seems to have done very, very well with fans, and I will say it is a very good adaptation of the books, and I think I might just be a little bit scarred from the Harry Potter adaptations, which were, let's face it, not good, except for maybe like the last one, that I walked out of the theater just doing like a, yes, they didn't mess everything up. So that's really good. And in fact, the thing I've been saying to people, because everyone has been asking me, hey, what do you think of the Hunger Games? Nobody really talks to me that way. People have been asking me what I thought, and I think the key thing is that though they took things out, they removed things from the story, they did not screw anything up, really. Which makes me very happy. I liked it. I thought it was a really solid adaptation. There were things that they did not include that I wish that they had, but in terms of getting the story across to people who had not read the books, I think they did a much better job than, you know, like the Harry Potter series did, and I really enjoyed the movie, which is something, because I've read the books, and so I know what's gonna happen, you know what I mean? There's no surprises left, and in a book that's essentially a thriller in a lot of ways, it's incredible that they were able to maintain that suspense, that even though I knew who was going to die next and how it was going to happen, and that Katniss would survive, sorry, spoilers, I still was concerned, I still was worried, I was still, you know, thinking, oh no, how is she going to get out of this one, even though she obviously was going to get out of all of them, or else there couldn't be another 2 books. I think that the film's vision of the world of Panem was very, very spot on, and they covered a lot of things that I would not have thought of, and I'd never thought of what the game maker's headquarters look like. But because of the visual nature of film storytelling, they had to take us into that room, they had to tell us what was going on behind the scenes. I think that was able to compensate for the fact that we didn't have Katniss's inner monologue going the entire time. They were able to fill us in on some things it wouldn't have been able to know otherwise, which I think was a great storytelling decision. In terms of the acting, there's not too much I can complain about. There were a couple choices that were made that I wouldn't personally have made. I think that Cinna and Katniss's relationship was borderline flirty, which I never thought of. I always thought that Cinna was gay, so it was never an issue. She was like talking to her gay best friend, but Lenny Kravitz kind of played it a little bit more like, Katniss, I'm betting on you, girl. I bet on you. Bet on your little mockingjay. Your little mockingjay girl. Not how I thought of it, and I also would have liked to see Haymitch be a little bit more drunk for a little bit longer, but I think Woody Harrelson did a much better job than I expected him to. The only qualm I have with storytelling has to do with Peeta, and that is that in the book, he would undertake these actions which were absolutely genuine, and Katniss would see them with an air of suspicion, with an air of constant paranoia, and we obviously didn't have her inner monologue in the film to see that, so instead what they did was make his actions appear less trustworthy, make him appear like a less genuine character, even though he was actually in love with her the whole time. And that is something which I think undermines the character a tiny bit, but the filmmakers had to do that to make us believe, like Katniss does, that Peeta is trying to betray her. So I'm not too mad about it, but I think it does kind of undermine the character a little bit and led me to like Gale in the movie quite a bit more than I did in the books. I'm very interested to see what happens and how they play Gale and his character transformation in the next couple of movies. And I think we'll be left with a Peeta versus Gale debate that is much less about who Katniss should end up with and much more about these two characters' mindsets and how they view the war that they're part of, which I think is a very, very interesting conversation, and is much more interesting than who she should be making out with. I'm excited to see what they do with the next 2 films, and I think it is very easy, always, with an adaptation to get nitpicky, and it's very important to remember it's an adaptation. If we wanted the exact thing that was in the book, you can read the book, but here is a new vision, a new take on the same material, and even with that said, it is incredibly faithful to the novel, and it was able to stand up and be a great film as well as a great book. There's a really cool meta aspect to this entire film and its existence at all, because here we are in a theater watching a screen with kids being killed and we are cheering for it because we have become the capital. We have become the viewers of the Hunger Games simply by wanting to watch the Hunger Games. And I think that's really, it's really neat how the filmmakers were able to retain that feeling, because in the book, we are the spectators, but we are inside Katniss's head as well. And in the film, we don't have that luxury. We are simply the people watching and cheering. I think it's kind of interesting that they included that monologue from Cato at the end, which I think makes us look at his character a little bit differently. And I like that that was there. I like that a lot because it gives us insight and reminds us that everyone in these games is a victim. That the bad guys are not the people in the games. They're not the careers or anybody. The bad guys are the people putting the kids in the games. And I find myself liking Senator Crane because he is a really cool character, so I'm glad we got to see a bit more of him in the film than we did in the book. Really, I am most excited to hear what you guys thought of the Hunger Games. I know you're all really big fans just like I am. Leave it in the comments. Let me know what you thought of the film. Are you going to go back and see it a couple more times? I definitely want to see the movie again. I saw it at midnight. It was a great experience, but I want to see it again and again and see if there are things in there, little Easter eggs, that I may have missed the first time around. And also, let's face it, I mean, Katniss is very nice to look at. I'm not going to lie. She's very nice to look at, and so's Peeta. Alright guys, that's it for today. I hope that you're just having a great day. I hope you're having a great day, and until I see you next, be brilliant.